Lights, boughs of holly, third grade level snowman illustrations. Well, it's not art, but nobody can accuse you of not decking the halls, Arnie.
So do I get to host the special?
Hold on now, that was never the deal. We said that if you spruced up the set, we might have a couple walk-on roles for you. Might.
Well, I did spruce up the set. I used actual spruce. And I strung popcorn streamers.
Which you ate.
And I made figgy pudding.
That would be the bowl of generic vanilla instant pudding sitting on the kitchen counter containing several humongous rectangular lumps that, to judge from the surrounding cookie wrappers, are whole fig Newtons.
I improvised. Oh, and I set up the elf on the shelf.
Just because a parental scare tactic inexplicably achieves commercial success, Arnie, does not mean we want it in this house. I'd just as soon not have its creepy imp face leering back at me from the shelf in the... Hang on, the shelf is empty.
Of course it is. A surveillance state would hardly be effective if you knew where all the cameras were. Just know that he's in here somewhere, always watching.
This is a horror.
Snow's really coming down out there. If this keeps up, we're likely to have a white Christmas after all. And if it keeps up beyond that, we could be looking at an Alfred Packer type situation, so hopefully it'll slack off somewhere in the orange zone. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize you were already recording.
We're not recording yet, Chen.
The lights on the console say differently.
The lights on... Arnie!
They're red and green. I thought it would be more festive with them on.
Out now, we're on the air.
Wait, do I get the part?
You get to be the star of a live televised immolation if you don't clear out immediately. Now assume the crash position.
What? Wait, ah!
Hello, video gamers. I'm Shu Tanaka.
I'm Chan Tanaka.
And welcome to a very special Tanaka Brothers holiday presentation, Shu and Chan's Merry Video Game Christmas Celebration. And to start off the festivities, we'd just like to say, Merry Christmas.
You actually started off the festivities by forcibly air-launching our assistant Arnie through the kitchen door.
Well, the chronology is less important than the results, brother. What matters is that season's greetings have been established, and Arnie has been banished from the set.
I mean, Brother Shu, that throwing Arnie into the next room isn't really in keeping with the holiday spirit.
Oh, he's fine, Chan. Rodents can fall long distances without sustaining any damage. I watched something about it on Animal Planet. They've got like plus 10 agility or something.
I just mean that this being the Yuletide, we could stand to be a bit kinder to Arnie. As a wise man once said on a similar occasion, 'tis the season to be sharing.
Which wise man was that?
It was Santa Claus.
And he was talking to Fred
Flintstone.
Flintstone.
Fred Flintstone, yes. It was from that Fruity Pebbles commercial. I was trying to come up with a quote from a more respectable source, but we're working off script. It was the first thing I thought of. I'll come up with something more inspiring later. You may continue.
Thank you, Chan. On this Christmas Eve night, video gamers, as the snow falls and festive lights twinkle in the chilly twilight, it is our distinct pleasure and self-imposed obligation to welcome you to this celebration not only of the Christmas season itself, but of the video games that bring the holidays to us through the time-honored mediums of superficial set dressing and graphic violence.
Yes, while our holiday special a few years ago came to the conclusion that there were very few video games that could genuinely be considered Christmas-themed as a whole, it turns out that many games have had smaller individual Christmas sections, where a bare minimum of holiday props, snow overlays, and jingly sound effects have contributed to allow you, the player, to do exactly the same stuff as you did during the rest of the game, but in slightly more festive environments.
And tonight we pay tribute to them all. Not only that, but there will also be Christmas memories, hot cocoa, and the whole thing will end with a live reading of Clement Clark Moore's A Visit from St. Nicholas, because this poem, now more than ever, is in the public domain.
Here's a toast to extremely dead authors.
Let's begin our holiday video game journey with memories of Yuletides of yore as we revisit A Very Shenmue Christmas.
Most people don't think of Shenmue as a game containing much in the way of holiday spirit. And, well, they're right, it's an utterly joyless game. But because the in-game calendar does in fact run through December the 25th, for a few short in-game days, protagonist Ryo's hometown rolls out the lights and garland and becomes a mildly depressing winter wonderland.
And when we say that Shenmue doesn't contain much holiday spirit, it's important to note that Ryo himself outwardly displays the same general raw emotional range of a turnip, even when dealing with his father's death at the hands of international assassins, so for all we know he could be positively bubbling inside with Christmas joy, and can only express it by dispassionately asking random people for information about biker gangs.
Do you know anything about them?
That gang's done growing in recent years, you see. They're in league with some big Chinese cartel, looking to take over Yokosuka.
A Chinese cartel?
They call the shots around this here harbor. They don't take kindly to interference by others, so watch yourself.
We all celebrate differently.
But that's not to say that the Shenmue Christmas experience is entirely alien, even if Ryo himself probably is. Stores are cheerily decorated, snow falls gently, and even within the game's somber atmosphere, we are presented with at least one moment of true Christmas magic, a meeting with none other than jolly old St. Nicholas.
JQ Jazz Bar offers a variety of cocktails. You're too young to drink. Sorry, kid. It's okay.
Really tugs at the heartstrings.
It's kind of like if Ingmar Bergman made a Japanese Christmas special.
So that was Shenmue. Say what you will about the tone, the game technically includes December the 25th, and nobody can ever take that away from it.
Watching these Shenmue clips really brought back some memories, Brother Chan. Christmas Eves of old, staying up till midnight, laying in wait under the Christmas tree, elaborate but non-lethal traps set up around the fireplace.
It is a wonder that we ever got any presents that weren't coal, really.
My understanding is that the North Pole was switching the naughty nice list from paper to digital right around then, so the verification systems were largely offline and they had to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. That was the year Harold Schwartz from the next block over got the complete Batcave playset, remember? And he was still in juvenile detention for spray painting neighborhood cats.
Justice may not have been served, but it did net us a Dreamcast.
Hey, are we doing Christmas memories in here?
We, that is Brother Chan and I, are reminiscing on past events that were rich in sentiment and holiday spirit.
You are talking about a juvenile delinquent cat vandal getting Batman toys.
Well, yes, that's what it sounds like if you don't listen to the whole story. What if I told you that one act of kindness by jolly old St. Nicholas was the catalyst that inspired little Harold to turn his whole life around?
Then you'd technically be lying, as Harold Schwartz is currently serving an 11-year sentence for arson.
Come on, let me sit in. I have all kinds of Christmas memories that are better than that.
We don't need to hear about whatever Animal Planet debauchery you got up to growing up in your underground burrow, Arnie. We're here to talk about Christmas, not learn about how you stored away seeds and acorns with your 800 brothers and sisters before hibernating for 3 months.
Oh, that is just flat out racist.
Bad form, brother.
Sorry, that was over the line. I'm just saying we're dealing with an audience of humans here. We're trying to keep things relatable.
So what? I've been with you guys for ages. I've got human Christmas down pat. There's the tree and presents and food and a lot of laying down with headaches.
Sounds legit.
Okay, fine. What's your Christmas memory, Arnie?
I only get one?
Don't push it.
Okay, well, do you remember that one year that Santa had a reindeer malfunction and had to make an emergency landing, causing a delay that imperiled his deliveries until you convinced him to go digital?
I do, but that was a long time ago. I don't remember you there. Where were you?
Under the sleigh, he landed on me.
Oh, right, I do remember that.
That doesn't sound like a particularly fond Christmas memory, Arnie. Why would you choose that one?
Because I settled out of court for a speedboat. Merry Christmas to me.
How jolly.
My ribs still hurt when the weather gets cold.
Maybe we should can the memories for a little bit and jump back into our video game Christmas celebration.
Woohoo!
Without any special assistance from Christmas Vermin.
Oh, come on, I'm already here. What's it gonna hurt? I add color to your commentary.
Yes, like a red sock in white laundry.
Easy, brother. There's no harm in it. Let him stick around. It's Christmas.
Woohoo! What are we watching?
Our own plunging ratings, apparently, but I suppose that's our lot. The next segment on the Christmas video game tour is from a series that has encompassed numerous traditional holiday elements, such as crowded shopping centers, copious commercial goods, and people driven to homicidal madness by the stress of it all. Here comes Dead Rising 4.
What? I don't want to watch that.
Oh, for Pete's sake, Arnie.
This isn't Christmassy, it's violent.
It can be both.
Like the Furby Stampede of 1998.
All the hitting and the blood.
Just like on Furby Not.
If Die Hard can be a Christmas movie, then we can surely make some room in the genre as Dead Rising decks the halls with the festive reds and greens of people's chunky garden-style innards.
He's fighting Santa Claus.
That's obviously not the real Santa, Arnie.
How do you know?
Because he's using an axe. The real Santa is a capoeira master. He picked it up when he was in jail in Brazil for smuggling.
Okay, that's enough of this. Here, stop the clip. Stop the clip. I've got something that's a lot more seasonally appropriate and family-friendly.
We're not watching Ernest Saves Christmas again, Arnie.
No, it's a video game. It just has, like, 98% fewer stabbings and intestines. Welcome to the twinkling snowy hills of Christmastown.
Is that some kind of code for a drug thing? Oh, it's actually Christmastown.
From Kingdom Hearts 2. In this one, Sora, Goofy, and Donald continue their magical quest to visit various Disney characters and force them to act out Las Vegas Lounge greatest hits versions of their famous movie roles.
And you're sure the walking, talking skeleton man isn't going to be too spooky for you?
Oh, lay off. He's not scary. That's Jack Skellington.
He looks like the Slender Man with a peanut allergy.
In fairness to Arnie, Jack's contribution to the total intestine count would be very low.
Now, this is proper Christmas entertainment. You've got snow, you've got decorations, you've got licensed cartoon characters. Throw in some Hershey's Kiss commercials and it's ready for prime time.
I guess it has most Hallmark originals beat anyway.
So this is Christmas to you, Arnie?
Well, more than zombies and decapitation, yeah.
Didn't The Nightmare Before Christmas technically have both zombies and decapitation?
Well, I mean, yeah, but they weren't, splattery.
So monsters and death and carnage are okay for Christmas, so long as they don't leave stains anywhere.
Well, people spend a lot of money on decorations.
Maybe it's time for another Christmas memory.
Oh, I've got another one. Remember a few years back when the Secret Santa algorithm went on the fritz and one of you guys accidentally bought me a motorcycle?
You've already had your Christmas memory for tonight, Arnie, and that particular incident is still being litigated, so we can't comment on it.
Don't know how you keep coming out of the holidays with major vehicle acquisitions anyway. My Christmas take is usually thermal underwear in a fruit basket.
Do you have a Christmas memory to share, brother?
As a matter of fact, Chan, I was just now reminded of another Christmas not too long ago, when our normal holiday preparations were interrupted by the arrival of other small hairy creatures. It seems to be a trend.
Oh yes, that was only last year. Santa Claus had tasked us with revamping his entire R&D group, and we were deep into the middle of things when a crash on the rooftop led to the discovery of a group of malnourished prairie dogs who Santa had tasked with finding temporary replacements for his sick reindeer.
This was the Christmas where we learned that Santa Claus does not vet his volunteer labor very thoroughly.
Actually, I remember that even though initial relations were tense, you guys found that by working together with our furry brethren in the spirit of cooperation, we were able to meet both our goals in half the time.
I seem to remember that the reindeer replacement scheme actually resulted in the creation of several horrific genetic abominations that continue to terrorize the Arctic landscape to this very day.
Potato, potato. So, what's next?
Next, we have the festive holiday tradition of you vacating the premises before you get drop-kicked out the studio door. It's a personal favorite.
Oh, come on, I've been here this long. What's the problem with letting me stick around?
Why do you even want to stick around, Arnie? You've seen the clips we're running. They're all literally the same thing. Scenes of violence with a thin veneer of Christmas decor pasted over them. Nothing's going to change. The next clip is from Arkham Origins. How do you think that one's going to play out? Christmas crackers with the little paper crowns? Everybody gathering around for ham and pecan pie? No, it's going to be a big lump of a man beating other men into lumps, with one of them possibly wearing a Santa hat. This is all we have.
Oh, geez, I just wanted to hang around with you guys and do something Christmassy tonight. It's been, kind of a rough year.
Tell you what, Arnie. Why don't you go into the kitchen and make some cocoa for us all while we do the next two clips, and then you can come back here for our special Christmas poem.
Oh, yeah? Well, okay, I can do that. Do you guys want marshmallows?
Not half as much as I'd like solid proof of you washing your hands. After that, yes.
I'm on my way.
So, Arkham, then.
Yes, well, okay, so this clip comes from Batman Arkham Origins, a slight deviation from Rocksteady's main Arkham series. This entry is mostly known for having a replacement Batman voice actor who sounded a lot like Pee Wee Herman's Loop Bellhop voiceover in Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Looks like I'm the first one here. I need to find a spot where I can stake this place out unnoticed.
Christmas, brother, we're looking at the Christmassy aspects of the gameplay.
Well, like I said, there's not much deviation in the content. If you've seen Batman kicking a guy, here it is a little more festive with a tiny jingle-jangle of bloody teeth hitting the pavement.
I think there's a lot to be said about the general aesthetics on display. Something about Christmas time in the big city, snow cascading down over 100 floors of glowing windows, twinkling lights extending in all directions as the crowds hustle about their holiday business.
Which in this case is trying to kill the Batman.
They don't tell us how to do our jobs, brother.
I suppose there's a certain Dickensian feel to the oppressive gloom of Gotham City. Looking into the gray, wintry night, it's easy to imagine a latter-day Ebenezer Scrooge somewhere out there berating an employee, or being led to a lonely graveyard after a good 10 minutes of pointedly not taking the hints about his own death.
You know, brother, there's another video game series set in a distinctly urban environment that has had more than a few minor brushes with the holidays through the years, And in contrast to the Arkham series' generally dark and brooding tone, this series features a tone that is
light and joyful?
I was actually going to say clinically schizophrenic. I talk, of course, about Sega's Yakuza.
Oh, yes, and while this series, which frequently takes place during the holidays, has included the occasional Christmas nod through dialogue or decoration, it was the sub-story The Santa Hunters in Yakuza 5 that truly put the series' holiday spirit, and by that I mostly just mean the series' normal bat poop insanity wrapped up in Christmas wrappings, on display as hardened killer Sajima dons the garb of jolly old St. Nicholas to take down a gang of street thugs, with a brief interlude of running for dear life from a pack of small children.
The tale begins when Sajima encounters a badly beaten department store Santa Claus and agrees to go undercover to draw out a gang of toughs who are making a name for themselves by going throughout the city and beating up retail Santa Claus workers, a gang theme that was too niche even for inclusion in the Warriors.
The plan goes awry when Sajima, now in Santa garb, attracts a large crowd of children who begin mobbing him for presents. At one point, Sajima even wonders if the small children are the Santa Hunters the man was talking about. And while the game doesn't explicitly go there, you can just tell he's working out the particulars of mopping the floor with these malevolent moppets.
Eventually, however, the numbers turn against him, and Sajima is forced to make a break for it before the ravenous children bust him open like a piñata to feed on the bloody presents inside.
This, however, leads him to the real gang of Santa Hunters, and the mission ends as all Yakuza missions do, in absolute blood-soaked carnage, followed by a jolly sitcom freeze-frame finish. This is the essence of Yakuza, and more importantly, this is the essence of Christmas.
Who's ready for cocoa?
Ah, you're back.
I brought cocoa.
I'll have some, Arnie. Ah, you did put in marshmallows.
It's not bad. And what are these on top of the marshmallows? Did you put on blue sprinkles?
Well, no, we're entering the winter season, I'm shedding. They're clean, I scrubbed with soap.
You know, sitting here with hot cocoa, which I've just run through a sieve as I've had Arnie's cocoa before, brings a special Christmas memory to mind. Just a couple years ago when our niece Hanabi was over for Christmas Eve. Hanabi, being a typical teenager, felt that she'd largely outgrown the notion of Santa Claus, and thus it was up to us to show her the truth. Right, Brother Shu?
It stuck to my tongue.
We did this by setting up a jolly Christmas ambush, using Arnie as our little kid up past his bedtime decoy.
I was a Dickens.
Lo and behold, as the magical hour drew nigh, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound, entering our home and spreading ashy boot prints across the carpet that still haven't completely come out. And it was then, as we all watched from a safe distance, that Santa Claus presented Hanabi with a simple, shiny reindeer ornament, that she may hold on to the Christmas magic of her youth, even with the passage of life's long years.
And then he saw me, mistook me for a gremlin, and took several swings at me with the fire poker.
I wonder if I could have parlayed that into another boat. I'm back. In the spirit of the holidays and general sanitation, I made my own eggnog mixer.
That doesn't look like eggnog.
That's because it's about 90% dark rum and cognac. So, are we finished? You don't want to still be awake when Santa arrives. I mean, at least not until we get a lawyer to take a real good look at those restraining orders again.
Not just yet, brother. Remember, we still have the live reading to get through. But before that, I thought I'd throw just one last video game log on the fire as a little sentimental acknowledgement that not all video game Christmas scenes are about combat, that some very few are about the excruciating awkwardness of dinner with family. I present Spider-Man Miles Morales.
I love Spider-Man. He represents the twin pillars of superhero virtue: responsibility and spiders.
Much of the appeal of Miles' character is that he's a very relatable individual. Like, right here, I think most people can remember a situation where their parents' guest's arrival was imminent and they were still in their pajamas. Kudos to Insomniac for having the courage to portray it.
Also true to life, shuffling aimlessly yet anxiously around the house prior to the guest's arrival, trying to look busy so that your parents don't assign you any new tasks.
Now this is what I like to see. Good, wholesome holiday stuff. Greeting friends and family, dinner roasting in the oven, creeping through the house and going through all your host stuff while they're distracted.
And look, the developers really captured the experience of sneaking away from all your guests and going somewhere, anywhere for a little peace and quiet, if only for a few minutes. This is a very Christmassy game.
And I think that brings us to the grand finale, video gamers. Tonight, as our Christmas gift to you, we will be performing a dramatic reading of Clement Clark Moore's timeless classic, A Visit from St. Nicholas.
Timeless for 1823, maybe. Does anyone even know what a sugar plum is anymore?
I'm sure there are still sugar plums out there, brother. They're just plums that have been
Yes.
dipped in sugar.
You don't know.
Do you?
No, of course not.
Then you can't prove me wrong.
Drat.
Do I get a part in the poem? Tell me I get a part.
You get an extremely important part, Arnie. You'll be playing the mouse that doesn't stir.
Yeah.
Wait, shh. Method acting.
Shall we begin? 'Twas the night before Christmas when all through the house
Oh, and it is the night before Christmas. Historical accuracy.
Shh.
not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there.
It is a little weird that he can be enticed in with old socks.
Brother,
I'm just saying you probably don't want to see his browser history.
the children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads.
Extremely nebulous visions, as previously established.
And Mamma in her kerchief and I in my cap had just settled our brains for a long winter's nap.
Never go to bed without proper head protection.
Do you guys want to take over?
Well, since you offered, when out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from the bed to see what was the matter.
Ooh, an action scene.
Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters, and threw up the sash.
Hang on, I know what shutters are in the context of windows, but what's a sash, and why would you throw it up?
I think it was a type of pudding, and obviously he threw it up because he was nervous about the prospect of a home invasion.
The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave the luster of midday to objects below.
Yow, this is getting saucy.
When what to my wondering eye should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer.
Wait, miniature sleigh, tiny reindeer? So what, Santa's supposed to be riding in on a 3-foot-long sleigh, his giant legs dangling on either side?
Not necessarily, brother. It's possible the standard sleigh was just considerably larger than we know them today. Remember, in the 1950s, a miniature radio was still about the size of a toaster.
With a little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment...
Hey, who said you could read?
You were busy.
This is the Santa Claus intro verse. We were building suspense.
Let him read the verse, brother.
With a little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be Saint Nick.
Right, because when we think of Santa Claus, we immediately think lively and quick rather than morbidly obese.
Also, the sleigh and reindeer would probably have been more of a tip-off.
More rapid than eagles his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donder and Blitzen. Also Rudolph. See what I did there?
Very clever. I'm taking over. To the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, now dash away, dash away, dash away all.
Rather intense for a landing sequence, really.
As dry leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle, mount to the sky, so up to the housetops the coursers they flew, with a sleigh full of toys and St. Nicholas too.
So, since Clement thought it was important enough to point out that the sleigh went to the housetop with St. Nicholas too, are we meant to infer that there were numerous instances where this procedure resulted in Santa Claus flopping out of the sleigh onto the lawn while his sled went flying up without him?
Seatbelts only became federal law in 1968, Arnie.
And then in a twinkling I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof.
Ah, like hundreds of rats skittering around in the walls. Blech.
You know you're basically a rat yourself, right, Arnie?
Do you like every noise that humans make?
Well, touché.
As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot.
How many dead birds do you figure Santa dislodges going down chimneys every year?
Ew.
It's a non-zero number, I guarantee you.
A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry.
I'd like to see a police sketch artist make sense of that.
His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard of his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke had encircled his head like a wreath.
Timeless, was it? Did we skip over the part with the Surgeon General's warning?
He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly.
I'm glad Clement restrained himself before he went into detail on the moobs or the love handles.
He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf.
Elf?
And
He's an elf? I thought he just worked with elves.
The poem says he's an elf.
Like a little Christmas elf or a noble, immortal Tolkien elf?
We just heard a full verse describing the motion of his flab, so we're probably not dealing with nobility here.
He doesn't look like an elf.
Santa Claus's look hasn't always been standardized, Arnie. There have been as many different versions of Santa Claus as there have been cultures and generations that portrayed him.
Well, sure, but if you see him now, it's always a fat guy in a red suit.
That's because they consolidated all but the Earth 616 Santa Claus during the Secret Wars crossover event in 1985.
Gotcha.
He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread.
Unless it's one of those Linda Blair 360-degree head twists, then you want to watch out.
He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work, and filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk.
Maybe he'd have been chattier if he hadn't been forced to bring the jerk along.
And laying his finger aside of his nose, and giving a nod, up the chimney he rose.
Not actually magic, the nose, finger, and nod combo is standard U.S. Marine code to hoist the rappel line.
He sprang to his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle,
It's kind of a cheap present for having to fly all the way around the world.
and away they all flew like the down of a thistle.
But I heard him exclaim ere he drove out of sight,
Happy
Christmas to all, and to all a good night. And with that, video gamers, we bid you all a very Merry Christmas.
Well, that's all for me. Got a great deal of cooking to do in the morning. Good night, brother. Good night, Arnie. I'll see you on Christmas Day.
Same here. I've got some presents left to wrap, so I'm heading to my room. Good night, everybody.
Good night, Chen. Good night, Arnie. I think I'm going to stick around for a minute or two. Got something I wanted to look up. Sugar plums was the common name given to an extinct species of long-eared rodent, common in New England in the 18th century. Consumption of their gallbladders was known to cause pleasant hallucinations, leading to them being hunted to extinction. Huh. What was that? That came from the roof. That's either Santa Claus or the beginning of a horror movie. I really shouldn't go look. But Christmas comes but once a year. Let's just have a peek up the chimney. Yeah! Ah, so that's where he put the elf on the shelf. Good Lord, that's terrifying. Is it stuck to the chimney wall with the figgy pudding? Let's just extract this little monster. Holy crap, this stuff's like cement. Huh. Maybe I'll just come back later and burn it where it is, with a priest. For now, it's too late for Santa's stocking. Might be getting too old for that matter. Time for bed. Merry Christmas.